Japan has the lowest obesity rate of any developed nation on Earth, 4%. America sits at 42%. Same planet, same access to food, completely opposite results. And the strangest part? The Japanese are not running marathons. They are not starving themselves. They are not spending hours in a gym. They are doing something so simple that Western medicine has ignored it for decades. It targets the most dangerous fat in your body. Not the fat you can pinch, the fat wrapped around your organs. Visceral fat. The silent killer driving heart disease, diabetes, and inflammation. And the Japanese method burns it faster than any diet the West has ever invented. Today I am breaking it down step by step. But the final piece, the one the Japanese consider the real secret, no Western doctor will ever tell you that. Subscribe and turn on the bell. Type Japan in the comments if you want to know why their method works when everything else fails. Let us get into it. Why visceral fat does not respond to normal diets. Forget everything you know about belly fat, because the fat you are trying to lose is not the fat you think it is. There are two types of belly fat. Subcutaneous fat sits under your skin. You can grab it and pinch it. Annoying but relatively harmless. Then there is visceral fat. Hidden deep inside your abdominal cavity, wrapped around your liver, kidneys, and pancreas. You cannot see it, but it is actively poisoning you. Visceral fat is not just storage. It is an active organ that pumps inflammatory chemicals into your bloodstream 24 hours a day. It disrupts insulin, raises blood pressure, increases cortisol. Some people look thin but carry deadly levels inside. Doctors call it TOFI, thin outside, fat inside. And here is why regular diets fail against it. When you cut calories or do cardio, your body burns subcutaneous fat first. The visible fat, the easy fat. Visceral fat has its own blood supply and its own hormonal protection. It resists normal fat-burning signals. Your body treats it like an emergency reserve and refuses to touch it until you trigger a very specific metabolic switch. The Japanese figured out how to flip that switch without extreme dieting, and it starts with something you do every single day without thinking. Normal diets burn the wrong fat first. The Japanese method goes straight for the visceral fat. Here is how. Hara Hachi Bu, the 80% rule that melts visceral fat. 2 words, Hara Hachi Bu. This ancient Japanese principle has kept Okinawans, the longest living people on Earth, lean for centuries. And it is embarrassingly simple. Eat until you are 80% full, then stop. That is it. No calorie counting, no macros, no eliminating food groups. Just stop eating before you feel completely full. But do not let the simplicity fool you. The science behind this is devastating to visceral fat. When you eat to 100% fullness, your blood sugar spikes hard. Insulin floods your system. And excess insulin is the direct signal that tells your body to store visceral fat. Every time you eat until you are stuffed, you are writing a direct deposit check to the fat wrapped around your organs. But when you stop at 80%, insulin stays moderate. Your body enters a mild calorie deficit without feeling starved. You are not hungry. You are not deprived. You ate a full meal. You just stopped slightly before that stuffed feeling. That small gap is where visceral fat burns. Okinawan populations naturally consume about 1,800 calories a day using this method. No measuring, no tracking. Just gentle restraint that keeps insulin low and visceral fat burning. And there is a biological trick. Your brain takes 20 minutes to register fullness. When you eat fast, you blast past 80% before your brain catches up. The Japanese eat slowly, small bites, chopsticks, not forks. By the time they stop, they are perfectly satisfied. Not stuffed, not hungry. That middle zone is the visceral fat death zone. Hara Hachi Bu controls the input. But the Japanese have a second weapon that burns visceral fat from the outside in. NEAT, the invisible exercise. The Japanese never skip. The Japanese do not have a gym culture. Read that again. The leanest developed nation on Earth does not rely on gyms. So what are they doing instead? They walk. They stand. They move constantly throughout the day. Not as exercise, as life. This is called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Every calorie you burn outside of formal exercise, walking to the store, taking stairs, cleaning. The Japanese burn up to 400 extra calories a day through NEAT alone, not from workouts, from daily living. And here is why NEAT specifically destroys visceral fat. Intense exercise spikes cortisol. Cortisol protects visceral fat. A brutal gym session can actually signal your body to preserve dangerous fat while burning harmless fat instead. But low-intensity, constant movement does not spike cortisol. It keeps metabolism gently elevated all day. It burns fat slowly, continuously. And visceral fat is the first reserve your body taps during low-intensity activity. The average Japanese person walks 6,500 steps a day without trying. The average American gets 3,500. That 3,000-step gap, just 25 extra minutes of walking, burns visceral fat faster than any treadmill sprint long-term. Eating and movement are two pillars. But the Japanese have a third secret that Western science is only now beginning to understand. The third pillar. Why the Japanese never stress. Eat. This is the part nobody in the West talks about, and it might be more powerful than the food and movement combined. The Japanese have a concept called ikigai, your reason for waking up. It sounds philosophical, but the biological impact is staggering. People with strong purpose have measurably lower cortisol throughout the day. Lower cortisol means lower visceral fat storage, less stress eating, less emotional binging, less hormonal chaos driving fat to your belly. Okinawan elders with strong ikigai have visceral fat levels 30% lower than age-matched Western adults. They eat well. They move gently. But the thing binding it all together is a calm, purposeful nervous system that never enters the chronic stress state that forces the body to hoard visceral fat. And they combine this with something called Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing, simply spending time in nature. Research shows 20 minutes in a natural environment drops cortisol by 16%. The Japanese do this regularly, not as medicine, as a normal part of life. Lower cortisol, lower visceral fat, no pill required. So the full Japanese method is 3 systems working together. Hara Hachi Bu keeps insulin low. NEAT keeps metabolism burning all day. Ikigai keeps cortisol from triggering visceral fat storage. Remove any one and the system weakens. Combine all 3 and visceral fat has nowhere to hide. Final words. The Japanese did not discover a miracle. They discovered consistency, small portions, constant gentle movement, a calm, purposeful mind. No extremes, no punishment. Just a system that respects the body instead of fighting it. And you can start today. Eat to 80%. Walk 25 extra minutes. Find one thing that gives your morning purpose. That is your blueprint. Visceral fat is not permanent. It is not genetic destiny. It is the most responsive fat in your body once you trigger the right signals. And now you know exactly what those signals are. Comment which part surprised you most. Share this with someone fighting belly fat the wrong way. Subscribe and turn on the bell. Type 1 if you are starting the 80% rule today. Type 0 if you still believe crunches burn belly fat. Stay consistent. Stay gentle. Your body is not the enemy. Start working with it and the visceral fat disappears.